Over the last few days, I've been reflecting on a random story of my past that I think is relevant right now for people. And if nothing else, it just was great for reflections for me for where I have been in my past. And sometimes you go through seasons that don't necessarily seem relevant or you don't understand them at the time, but when you look back on them in the future, you are you see how God was at work in your life even during times of uncertainty. So it gives you the faith to continue to move forward now in the current times as you remember what God brought you through. So I was reflecting on 2012 when I was so lost. I had been an entrepreneur for 2 years. I had given up everything that I owned. I had given up my career that I had gone to a master's program to learn how to get into corporate America, to be in business, and then giving that up, giving my career, walked away from a promotion at work. I had gone to take a leap of faith to pursue my dreams as a full-time songwriter. I had ended up waiting tables for 2 years, walking to work because I didn't have a car, and living in a gorgeous 4-story condo near downtown Atlanta, just being blessed exceedingly abundantly above my means. And then in the midst of that, losing it all. Our business that we had created fell apart. I lost the condo we were renting was foreclosed on, and we were put out. I could no longer walk to work, so I lost my job, or I had to leave my job. And then it was just like I lost my passion for writing. It just left me. Like I had this unrelenting passion for writing, and it just left all at the same time. And I felt like I lost it all. And I went into this season of being lost. And this place where you just feel like you were so purposed and you were so on fire, and then you transition from that to feeling so empty, so devoid of passion, so lost, just like, what am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? I went into that extreme contrast, and I just remember for about 3 months, I was praying, like, God, please, you got to speak to me. You got to tell me what you created me for. You've got to show me what's next. What do you want me to do? Do I go back to corporate America? Do I get a job? Do I wait tables? Where do I live? What do I do? What do you want from me? And for 3 months, it was silence. It was actually from about Thanksgiving to March, I think it was. So that's more than 3 months. December, January, February, March. Yeah, 3 or 4 months. And finally God spoke to me, and he said, I want you to do what I told you to do that you didn't do, and when you do that, then I'll tell you what to do next. What he had told me to do was to write a gospel album, so a gospel music album. So he had taken my passion, totally just stripped it out of my heart for writing, because apparently months before that he had told me to write a gospel album. And I was so consumed with writing, just whatever I was writing. I was working with a bunch of artists. I was working on projects that were like secular music. I was so just totally sold out into that I didn't even act upon what he had told me to do. So he stripped me of that passion. He took everything away from me. He took my job away. I ended up moving home to be with my mother as a 26-year-old. I felt like I was in the lowest place in the world, and on top of that, I felt like I had no purpose. So as soon as he spoke to me, he said, go back and do the last thing I told you to do that you didn't do. Go back and do that. Come here, baby. Go back and do that, and then once you do that, I'll release the next thing. Hey, Kingston, can you be quiet, sweetie? So I did that, and then the album, I think I finished the album in a week. it was like divine inspiration hit me. I wrote songs without writing one word. I just pulled the mic up in front of me and words just flow out of me. It was like incredible. I had tried hard to write songs before. These songs flow out of me like it was just inside of me, like it was meant to happen. It was divine how quickly this album was produced. And the day I finished the album, that's the day the Lord spoke to me, and he said, go to the bookstore. Went to the bookstore, and he said, go down this aisle. So I'm just listening to the Holy Spirit. He hasn't spoke to me in months. I mean, it was silent. I've been praying for months. I didn't hear a thing. No response. And then God begins to speak to me, and he gives me step-by-step instruction. And he says, go down this aisle. And I heard her. And he says, go down this aisle and get this book. And the book I picked up was How to Write a Screenplay. I didn't even know what a screenplay was. I never heard of the word screenplay. So I bought the book, took it home. I didn't even take it home. That night I actually went to... Yeah, you're writing. Actually, I took it. I went to a prayer meeting. Someone invited me to a prayer meeting. And at that prayer meeting, a prophet was in town from, like, out of state. I'd never seen this person a day in my life. They didn't know anything about me. And they called me up to the front, and they began to speak into my life and tell me that the Lord was calling me to write movies, and that God would give me Hollywood. That he would give me a prophetic ministry in Hollywood. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I've never written a movie. I don't even know anything about a movie. Well, I had the book that I had just left the bookstore about how to write a screenplay, which is a movie script. And God took the passion away from me from music and gave me a new passion, which was to write movies. So that night, I went to sleep. And in my dream, I received my first full movie. In the dream, I got the movie title, I got the character names, I got the whole plot of the movie. In a dream, the Lord gave me a prophetic movie. He just downloaded the whole movie into me. It was the most creative thing I'd ever thought of. Like, I didn't even think of it. I woke up and I literally spent the whole day. I wrote the whole movie that he showed me. So in a matter of maybe like 3 or 4 days, I took that outline of the movie and I wrote like 40, 50 pages, wrote half the movie script out. Using that book I had bought at the bookstore, which had the structure of a movie. So this is like how you have the plot, and you have the inciting incident, and then you have to have 3 acts. And I was literally like, how to write a movie script for dummies, and I had the storyline, I had the characters, I had the setting, I had the name, I had everything, and I had this book that was helping me draft my first movie script. And it was like the inspiration that I had been waiting for, the passion that I had been thirsty for. I had felt so lost, and it just poured down on me like a waterfall. Like I was drenched in passion. I couldn't stop writing all night, all day, in the course of like a few days. So somewhere along that, maybe like a week into this new passion, the Lord speaks to me and he says, I want you to move to Los Angeles. And it was one of those things where it was like, I was at my mom's house. I was in like my sister's old bedroom. I had all of my things in that room. I hadn't even unpacked the bag. I had been there for like 3 or 4 months because I knew I didn't want to be there. I didn't even unpack the bag. I was living out of a suitcase. I was like, God, you just tell me where to go and I'll go. You just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I know this isn't where I'm supposed to be. I know you have more for me in life. So as soon as he spoke to me, he told me, I think it was like a Sunday when he spoke to me. I said, I want you to move to LA. I called my boyfriend, who is my husband now. And I said, I'm moving to LA. And he said, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And I said, on Thursday. This is a Sunday. On Thursday, I'm moving to LA. And he was like, Thursday what? This Thursday, in 4 days, I'm moving to LA. Like, God spoke to me I heard what he had to say, and I just did it. I just went for it. I just was like, I heard you. I packed everything that I owned. Like I don't know why I took so much stuff. Like the whole back seat, the whole trunk, and the whole passenger seat was filled to the brim. The passenger seat wasn't filled because Nick rode with me. So after he was shocked, and he was just like, what are you, like, why? Where are you going to go? You don't even know anybody out there. Where are you going to live? You don't have a job. You don't have any money. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just know God spoke to me, so I'm going. So after he got over that, he was just like, okay, do you want me to ride with you? And so he helped me, and I think we pushed it out maybe like instead of leaving on a Thursday, we left like on a Saturday or something. We got in the car. I didn't even have gas money. I didn't even have gas money to get to LA. I got on the road with the gas that I had, and I started driving. And into the trip, my sister called me, and she's like, "You moving to LA? Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna send you $100 for gas." And she sent me gas money, and that's how I got to LA. And then maybe like, I can't remember how long the trip is. I want to say it took like 24 hours to get there or something. It was a long time. Well, the setting of the movie the guy had given me, I had to drive through that state. So I stopped in that state, and I went to like a novelty store, like trinkets, and I began to see images of the things God had shown me in my dream. So I was able to pick up, like visually see the setting of the movie. And I was able, like, I'd never even been to this state before. So I was able to look at the setting, look at the like we went and like walked through these mountains. Nick and I did, just like taking a break from driving. We went, and I just saw so many things that were confirmations of what I saw in my dream. And I'm like, I'm really about to finish writing this movie. So then from there, I maybe got like a day into the drive, or I don't know how long it was, halfway into the drive. And I get a call from a random number, and they say, "Hey, I heard you used to work for XYZ company. We're consultants. We were doing research. We will pay you $300 an hour if you will just, answer a few questions for us about your previous role." So I'm on a multi-hour, like a full 24-hour drive. I have nothing to do but talk on the phone. Like I don't have anything else to do. So I'm like, sure, what questions do you have? And they just kept going, question after question. I was just talking. I was talking about stuff I didn't even know. I think I was making stuff up. I was just talking. For hours, I was talking to these people. And they're just like, this is great. Can we call you back tomorrow for more? By the time I got to LA, maybe like I was a week in LA, my mom says, "Hey, you got a check in the mail for $1,800. And I was like, from what? And they're like, I don't know, it says XYZ Consulting Company. And that's how I lived in LA for the first month or so. I lived off of that check. It was miracle money. Like, God could only do that. I didn't have a dime. I was just obeying God. And then I get to LA, my first day there, my first day in LA. I'm walking down the street, and I run into, this girl invited me to a Hollywood bowl night or something where everybody was there bowling. And I run into a guy, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a movie director." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm a screenwriter." And I'm like, "What's your name?" He's like, "I'm F. Gary Gray." And I'm like, "Oh, really? What movies have you produced?"
Mommy!
Like, I didn't know.
Mommy, up!
Then when I finally went home and researched him, I'm like, you could have just pitched him your movie right then. I ended up meeting.
Mommy! Mom,
Here you go, baby. I ended up meeting a music manager who asked me to write the album for One Direction. This is before they ever had an album. She listened to my music. She took me to her mansion in Hollywood. I mean, it's the biggest house I've ever been to. And she took me into her music studio that was in her house. She played all the music I had written from Atlanta. And she's like, this is great. I love it. Do you want to write the album for One Direction? I didn't even know I didn't know what One Direction was. They later went on to be the biggest boy band. I think they had the top most hits or whatever. I didn't even know who they were. She sent me to 2 different studios to write songs for their album. I wish I had taken it more serious because I probably would be a multi-millionaire by now. But these type of divine appointments God gave me when I was in LA. And over the course of that time, so many things happened, but I was sleeping in my car because I did not have anywhere to live. I had somewhere to live for the first 2 weeks. It was kind of an old friend of family that was here in Dallas. They knew someone whose daughter was living out there, and I was sleeping on an air mattress on her floor in her 1-bedroom apartment. But after about 2 weeks, I realized I had worn out my welcome, and so I just got in my car and I slept in my car for, I don't know if it was like weeks or months. It was a long time because I was in LA for 6 months, so maybe like 2 or 3 months. But I didn't have anywhere to work, to write, so I would link up with my now writing partner, and we would meet at Denny's. And if you bought coffee, you could use their Wi-Fi. So we would they had like this unlimited coffee and biscuits, I think, and we were sitting there for like 12 hours a day. Or we would go into, I think it was Panera, and we would sit in there and use their Wi-Fi. And sometimes we wouldn't even eat anything. We would just get like a cup of water and use their Wi-Fi. And we were writing movies for 6 months. We did that. And then during the course of that time, Nick was like, if I don't propose to her, she's never going to come home. She will be living in her car, pursuing this vision that God gave her, and it'll be over for me. So he proposed to me, and that's the only reason I came home. I came home 3 days before our wedding, and I got married. And I went through this season where I was like, what was the point of that? Like, I wrote these movies. What was the point? Like, what was the point? Why was I in LA? Why was I living in my car? Like, and God fed me like I was like the Israelites in the desert. And every day I didn't know how I was going to eat, and I didn't know where I was going to go, and I didn't know, like, where am I going to take a shower? And my friend, her dad, he didn't want me living in the house, but he would let me come and take a shower and sleep in the house from like, I think I could come from like 10 p.m. and I had to be out by 6 a.m. And so I could take a shower. And it was just like incredible. Like, I was accomplishing so much with such limited resources. And God was there with me in my lowest point where I'm just like hungry, I'm starving. I didn't even have enough money to buy a can of tuna fish, buy a loaf of bread. I felt like, God, I used to be in corporate America, and now I'm living in my car. And now finally my friend Raven ended up getting an apartment, and she let me and Felicia sleep on her couch, and it was like a little love seat, and we both slept like feet to feet, so our feet, like, it was just, our feet would be in each other's face. But we were so grateful because we were like, she had previously been sleeping on a yoga mat in someone's like closet that was barely a walk-in closet. Like, she was living in their walk-in closet on a yoga mat for probably, like, I don't know if it was like a year. So she was so happy to be on the couch, and I was so happy to be in a place where I didn't have to like get out by 6 a.m. and just be in my car all day. And anyway, it was just amazing. It was incredible. And God allowed us to write these 2 incredible scripts. And just this past week, we just submitted one of the scripts to a screenwriters competition. And I'm believing that we will win the competition because the script is incredible. And the other script was pitched to Netflix, and a production company picked it up, and they pitched it to Netflix and to Amazon movies. And this is like 8 years, X amount of years later, however many years later it is. the dream still hasn't died. Like, God sent me to LA for a purpose. And since that time, he's given me more than 10 movie scripts to write that I have written. Some of them are partially written. I haven't even had the time to write them, complete them, but he keeps giving me ideas and keeps showing me that this is something that he's called me to, and it will not die. Like, it's not gonna go away until my destiny will be fulfilled. So this is random. I hope this blesses you. I don't know what the point of this story is. Gigi. But nothing that you do is in vain. Nothing will be lost. Everything that God sends you to do will be accomplished. And no matter, even at your lowest point, you might be homeless, you might be sleeping in your car, you might be without a job, you might be scraping coins together, and then you look up a few years later and God has completely turned your life around. I'm married now. I got 2 kids. I got a house. Like, I got a career, and I have this passion that God gave me in my lowest point, which is like my life purpose that I found in my lowest point. And God has given me the ability to finance the vision where I won't have to wait on somebody else to produce my movies. I believe that he'll give me the money where I'll be able to produce other people's movies. All right.